So I think there are a couple of things to keep in mind as a young careerist in thinking about learning and development. The first thing would be go all the way back to the start of a job seeking process, which is during the interview. And during the interview, to always ask, what are the component parts of your learning and development and professional development programs? Assume that they are there, and also ask, how do you prioritize your professional development? How do you prioritize your professional development dollars? Is it by hierarchy? Is it by longevity? Just to try to get some information about how seriously an organization takes learning and development, how consistently they participate in it, and how do they award it, and how do they think about it. So I would do some information gathering as a young careerist all the way back in the interview process for sure. Um, uh, and if I'm new to a job and I am interested in advocating for professional development, I think there's a three things that I would keep in mind. First of all, always be on the lookout for professional development opportunities, right? So as young careerists, we have to make sure we are keeping up with a habit of looking to see where we can learn. What can we learn? And then taking those ideas to a manager, a superior, with three things in mind. One is to say, I found this opportunity, and here's how I believe it would benefit the organization. Always start with how it can benefit the organization. Here's how I believe if I learn this skill, or I learn this particular, if I go to this particular workshop, here's how I plan to bring those learnings back to the organization. Here's how I would teach others what I learned from this workshop or this learning. Then describe how this would benefit you as an individual. I know I need to upskill on my listening skills or on my SQL skills. Here's how I believe this workshop would be helpful to me, or this course would be helpful to me. And then I would be prepared to roughly, it doesn't have to be perfect, underscore, this doesn't have to be perfect, some sort of return on investment that the company can expect, both in terms of time. So I'm going to go learn about SQL, and I can imagine that the return on that investment would be 2 months from now. And here's what that would look like. If it can be quantified, great. But if it can be described and illustrated, even from a qualitative perspective, I think that's really important. So the more we help leaders understand this learning and development, I believe will benefit the company in this way. I believe this learning and development will benefit me as an individual who is part of this company. And here's how the return on investment, here's how I believe there will be a return on investment, both from a time perspective and a productivity perspective, even a to the bottom line perspective, I think is the way to think about advocating for learning and development and professional development.